The book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 21. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. Shalom. Call Haloyam La, Yahapwa, Bahasham, Yahapushai, Bahasham Racha Kodash, Brakta Yahapwa, Brakta Yahapushai, Brakta Racha Kodash, Bahasham, Yahapushai, Bahasham Racha Kodash. Shalom, a double honors unto the elder apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom to the elders and the Akim and the Akwath. Shalom. Want to go into a quick video entitled, that's about this article here. And the title of the article is, The First Worldwide Global Revolution is Now Underway. Says financial author Bob Moriarty. So we're entering those times. It's not a coincidence, that the wars, and the rumors of wars, earthquakes, and hurricanes, and these weather events, and the uprising of the people is underway. Well, on a global scale, it's been happening throughout, but everything is happening at the same time, layers upon layers, because that's the plagues the Most High is sending as a woman in travail. All of these pains are happening upon the earth until the return of the Messiah, when he makes his glorious return. So reading this article starting out here, it says, hedge fund manager Paul Singer, the head of Elliott Management Corporation, recently warned in mainstream financial news that a global societal collapse is soon on the way. And according to financial author and expert analyst Bob Moriarty, this event will lead to the first worldwide global revolution. So all these things are happening. Why? Because the wicked are in rule, and this is the Most High wrapping up, putting the finishing touches on the society. And that's the title of my last video. Yahweh and Yahweh Shai are putting the finishing touches on this society. So the society has been wicked. Riches ill-gotten will not last. It will not stand, because it's a quicksand foundation. Wickedness is for a moment, I believe that's Job 12 and 20 and 5. So the financial system is on the brink of collapse, and they want to, people blame the global wicked elites, because they are trying to bring in their, NWO, which is the New World, order. But this is the Most High putting the spirit on these people, because the Most High, because the king's heart is in the hand of the Most High. He steereth it whichever way he wants. And now he's doing it, putting the spirits on them to bring the society to an end, so that the digital mark can try all flesh upon the earth to see whoever receives it, that will not make it. So, this is, everything is wrapping up. Everything is coming together. It's not a coincidence that all these things the Bible has prophesied, and that the prophets and teachers have been prophesying, is coming to an end. It's bringing everything to a rapid close, because the Most High is shortening the days for the elect's sake. So we get that real quick. In Matthew 24 and 22, it reads, and except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Ever since 2020, and before the 20s decade occurred, the Spirit had me mention and say that it's going to be the decade of the Roaring 20s, like the 1920s. Because why? This is going to be the Roaring 20s that's going to bring an end to Esau, Edom, the so-called white man's reign, because all of the signs were pointing towards towards the end times, and the prophecies were coming to pass. But it's now clear and evident now, those that needed to see it directly happening, it's clear and obvious that this is biblical end times according to the scriptures. Okay, so like, cause December 13th is going to be a C Day, right? Which is they coined it cashless day, meaning when the money is going to go digital, but that's the law that's going to go into place that Joe Biden put in place. It's coming up in about half a month. Today's November 14th, so yeah, about a month. And then it's also called Biden Bucks. He's going to be the head of steering the currency from physical to digital. And then all signs, everything is happening with this mandate of Revelation 13:16-17, which is the mark, that you won't be able to buy and conduct business without it, without swiping your hand. And then now the societal collapse, the wars, the famines, the diseases, all these things are happening at the same time, proving the validity and truth of the Holy Scriptures. So, and this is all, righteous judgment from the Most High because of the wicked that has been destroying the earth. And the Most High's chosen people, the Israelites, so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native American Indians. Proverbs 26:27. Whoso diggeth a pit shall fall therein. And who's dug a pit? Time and time again, so-called white man, for the Israelites. And physical slavery, and economic and digital and financial slavery and medical slavery. Right? Shalaki. So that's who's dig that pit for the Israelites for all these years, and now it's about to come back upon his own head. And he that rolleth the stone, it will return upon him. So he's been grinding us with the stone all these centuries since Christopher Columbus so-called discovered land inhabited by people who were the lost 10 tribes of Israel, so-called Latinos and Native American Indians. So now it's returning back upon them now because he's been destroying us, and you can't just slaughter and murder people that's innocent against you. But the Most High allowed it because we sinned against the Most High, and now it's time for the wicked to reap the reward for their deeds, sowing wickedness. So from there we'll get Deuteronomy 30:7. And the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, thy power, will put all these curses upon thine enemies, because we've had to endure the curses of Deuteronomy 28 verses 15-68. When you read that, those are all of the curses that the Israelites have had to endure over here in Babylon the Great America. And now it's the time our iniquity and punishment has been accomplished, and now the Most High is mercifully now turning it up now upon the wicked and the heathen that were destroying us, headed by Esau, Edom, and all the other Gentile heathen nations. And on them that hate thee, because these are not our enemies, these are not our friends, these are not our buddies, these are our enemies. They don't love us, which persecuted thee. So they've been, destroying us in the streets and in our neighborhoods, taking our money and giving it to their own nation. So from there we'll go to, let's get Deuteronomy 28:44. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. Because when we go to these banks, we try to get these loans and credit cards and things of that nature, get funding and financing, and because we're not in a position to be able to lend, because we are destroyed. True power is the power to lend. And let's go ahead and keep reading. He shall be the head, our enemies, headed with the Esau Edomites, so-called white race. And thou shalt be the tail. So we've been the tail for all these years. Only in a position of borrowing and hoping to be able to get approved of loans and credit. And he's been lending, and he's been redlining us. Redlining is when the bank, they've been, been biased against lending to the Israelites for mortgages, and Bank of America was one of those banks that was notorious for that, denying us our mortgage loans for homes. So we've been the tail for a long time. But now the curse is coming upon them. Their financial system that they've been so biased and assisting us with is about to come back upon their own head, and it's about to collapse. And they're going to, and their citizen, making their citizens have to sell their soul just to be able to continue living in this, made up fairy tale society, mythical society that's backed by, just monopoly money. Well, the monopoly money is backed by debt. So from there, we'll go to James 5:2. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth eaten. How are their riches corrupted? They have all of the money, they print the money, but it's all backed by debt. And your garments are moth eaten. So it's cankered and destroyed, and it's carnal. It's not spiritual. So everything they've gotten is through sin. So anything gotten through sin is going to deteriorate. Verse 3, your gold and silver is cankered. That where canker goes into deteriorating and like a cancer. We know what cancer does. It kills the cells until, it takes over the body and the person, succumbs to that disease. And the rust of them shall be a witness against you. So everyone sees the fruit of their hands has been rotten. The so-called Edomites, the global elites, the globalists, the people that rule the society, headed by Esau Edom under Satan. And everybody sees that this place has actually been one big nightmare that they've, tried to push as a, as a metropolis and a haven for the land of the free, and the land of, quote unquote, land of opportunity, yet opportunity to enjoy rotten fruit. So, and said, the rust of them shall be a witness against you and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. So people getting burnt up by their economic crashing and downturn of their society. And this is the same way ancient Rome, how it fell as well, because ancient Rome was all about, their money, and it was they misused the money and it went to debt, and they were stretched thin with their armies all over the earth, and they couldn't, no longer afford to properly pay their soldiers, and the debt and everything and their money system all collapsed just the same way it's doing right now. And they money and military today is the same way. They stretched in. They got garrisons, aka military bases all throughout the earth, and they're in this war, that war, this country, that country. They don't keep at home. So that's what's happening. The same thing. There's nothing new under the sun. So it's happening again. You thought they would learn their lesson from the last time and studied their old Rome and would have crafted a better way to organize and structure New Rome, Babylon the Great, aka America. But it's sort of a Most High power, and so the Most High is doing this ultimately. And from there we'll go ahead and get Matthew 6:20. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doeth corrupt. So they've been storing up, they've laid up treasure for themselves in this realm, and not in the realm where the Almighty power lives. By Hashem Yahushua, because such as Fort Knox, where they had the gold there. I believe they've removed that gold a while back and took it where, Lord knows where. Probably, I think, possibly over there in Europe somewhere, where those wicked elite Zionist, Jewish, Illuminati members stay. A lot of them over there in Europe, and hide them in different areas. So they lay up their treasures throughout the earth, where it's going to be corrupted, and where thieves do not break. Let me back up a bit. It says where neither moth nor rust doeth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart also be also. So it goes, first to the Israelites, and then, it's speaking on the heathen. That's what they do. That's not what Israelites are supposed to do. And so you're seeing the downfall of the heathen because they were never given the commandments. They never understand spiritual things. So that's why they continuously fall in carnal ways, because, salvation wasn't for them. It was for the Jews, chiefly, ultimately, all Israel. So let's see. So that word, let's see, let me go back to here. So that word revolution, Shalakia. Let me see, I'm trying to pull up this word revolution. Well, anyway, one of the similar words is insurrection. And so one of the words is insurrection, and that means, uprisings of the people. And so we'll go ahead and get a verse for that. 2nd Ezra chapter 9 and verse 3. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, verse 4, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. So this was even before Ezra's, back nearly almost like 2,500 years ago, almost 3,000, about 2,000 to 2,500 years ago. So you see the earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, and that's what's happening. They say the first global revolution is going to happen, and that revolution goes into insurrection, which is an uproar of the people. So that's what's happening. Because of why? They realizing, that this system is corrupt, and they've been the covering cast over all the nations, that the deception that's been pulled over their eyes has all been one big lie. And the money system is crashing. They stored up their money here, listening to the wicked elites, and they've just been working and getting money, storing up their money here. But the hopeful elect have been storing up their money and treasures in heaven, and now they're going to be mad, and now they're about to uprise because of the wicked elites. Their evil, wicked system is coming crashing down, and they're going to basically, lose their minds because of it. So 2nd Ezra 15 and 6. For wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. That's not what I wanted, but that still goes into alignment with everything. Verse 5. Behold, saith the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. So that destruction goes also into the financial system, and that's what's happening right now. So, and then from there we'll go to Matthew 24. Well, first let's go ahead and read some more of this article. Read a couple more paragraphs, and I'll leave the link also in the description box, and you can read the whole rest of it if you want. So paragraph 2 here. Moriarty spoke with Mike Adams, the health ranger, during his recent appearance on the Health Ranger Report. He unpacked why he believes that the world is just weeks or even days away from a massive collapse. And so related big tech colludes with Wall Street to terrorize the free world. Well, those that terrorize the free world, that's quote unquote the heathen. That's along with the Edomite, so-called white race. And who's the bond world, the slave world? The Israelites in these days. So-called blacks, Hispanics, and so-called blacks, Latinos, Native American Indians are the lost 12 tribes, and we've been destroyed. And we've been terrorized for the last 500 plus years. So now, since around 1492, when Christopher Columbus, wicked self, touched down and came into contact with, the Northern Kingdom over here. So we've been terrorized. Now it's turning back upon their own head, and now they're about to be terrorized, which is righteous judgment against the wicked. The next paragraph, the globalists are making all sorts of excuses for this impending event, including Russia's invasion of Ukraine, global warming, and the Wuhan coronavirus. Well, we all know that this has been in place and written, as the Most High told the prophet Ezra, that this was prophesied since the beginning of the world, since the beginning. So, they can blame everything in the end, but this was prophesied from the beginning, because they're heathen. And this further shows you that the Most High is not dealing with these heathen nations. They're all wicked, and they are to serve. A whole lot of them will be judged in fire, especially chiefly their military men, and a lot of the citizens of the heathen. And then a lot of them, the rest of them, are going to be rounded up for captivity, pursuant to Isaiah 14:1-2, and Revelation 13:9-10. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. And the heathen, they will serve us for servants and handmaids. The Most High never gave them. They don't have salvation coming. They have to repay what they've taken and destroyed the Israelites with. Taken from us and destroyed us. It would be unjust for the Most High to allow them to destroy the apple of His eye, the chosen children of His choosing, the Israelites, and then just take the heathen that's destroyed His chosen apple, and then allow the heathen to be right there next with them. That's a fairy tale, and that's a lie. So, I said, but the fact of the matter is that the financial terrorists lit the fuse a long time ago. And it's funny how this guy that wrote this article, Mike Adams, they can so pinpointedly scathingly criticize the wicked elites now, but he never did that when the only ones that was getting financially terrorized was us, when we were getting redlined by the Bank of Americas and the other banks that we just went into a minute ago. The redlining when they were specifically denying us for bank loans and credits and business loans of that nature. But now all of a sudden, when they're all suffering, now they're financial terrorists. They've been financial terrorists for the longest, because any country that didn't accept the petrodollar as their national currency, they did what? Through the media, which is the god of illusion that casts spells on the people's minds. They will lie and slander those governments to make them seem like they're so bad because they didn't want to use their dollar as their main currency. That's a financial terrorist. So it's multiple levels. Now that the kids of the terrorists are being affected by their terrorist daddies, now they want to call it out. It's pure nonsense and BS. And the collateral damage is all of us. No, the collateral damage has been us and them being able to enjoy the fruits of the Israelites being destroyed, and then the average citizen that are Edomites and the heathen have been enjoying all of the fruits of the wicked elite's labor of destroying the Israelites, the chosen. And nobody said anything about our damage. They tell us what? Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, while having PTSD, post-traumatic slave disorder. And then now all of a sudden, everything is 180. Now they want to call it out. It's because they're hypocrites. The joy of the hypocrites, but for a moment, from the top of the elites, of the Esau Edomites and heathen, all the way down to the average citizen that has enjoyed the benefits of wicked labor. It says, next paragraph, they have literally destroyed the currency, and they have destroyed the world's financial system. Morality says. So they've done that to us since 1492, had us in bondage, and they never gave us any kind of reparations. They said 40 acres and a mule, and then they just lied about that. And then they start saying, forget about slavery in the past. You can't hold that hate, can't harbor that hate within you. Let it go. You got to forgive. You can't have that hate and say, pull yourself up, right, by your bootstraps. But now this is, like we've read, this is the end of a wicked pirate, a wicked thief. A thief's end is not pretty. So, that'll be all I read on that. Let's get a couple more precepts and close out. Matthew 24:21, I think I read it, but we'll read it again. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And that's the same as Daniel chapter 12, verse 1. Because these are going to be the worst times ever, because not only the virus, the pestilences, and the plagues, the diseases, but then the famines, no food, food, quote unquote, insecurities, which is basically just a famine. And then what else? You have the financial crisis and the financial instability, and then the weather. Remember, this past summer was like the hottest summer ever. People were dying left and right from the heat, and it was an extremely horrible, hot summer season. It was very miserable and very hot, unusually hot. It was pretty terrible, but this is the Most High that's bringing everything to a head. And then that, and then the insurrections of the people, the government's collapsing, and then it's going to break all the way down to, like you see in those movies, the Book of Eli and I Am Legend, all these apocalyptic movies. So this is how it's going to be, no time ever like it. This is how it's, there's going to be, that word tribulation means go into trouble, and part of that is Jacob's trouble, when the mark is going to come out too, and then that's also the last greatest prophecy before the Messiah, before the absolute greatest prophecy of the Messiah return. The one that's going to happen right before is that mark that has to go in your hand to be able to buy, because that's going to be Esau Edom, the so-called white man's ultimate plague upon mankind, his last and final plague, to be like the Most High, to make everyone pledge allegiance to him. And he wants to control the vessels like the Most High does. But he's just a profane, blasphemous beast that must be put down. And we're getting very close to that time, because he has but a short time. So Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus chapter 10 and verse 8. Because of unrighteous dealings, remember the peace treaties that the pilgrims, quote unquote pilgrims, the Edomites signed with the Native Americans, so-called Native Americans. And then he broke them all. That's unrighteous dealings. Injuries, and he destroyed them with those. They gave the Native Americans disease-riddled blankets, and that's coming up again, where they're about to celebrate that again at the end of November here, celebrating all of that destruction and those unrighteous dealings that they did. They celebrated every year. If it was a righteous dealing, how come it's only now the descendants of the pilgrims celebrating it, and the Native Americans on the reservations, they're nowhere to be found during the time they're celebrating that dinner? Because it's pure wickedness and injuries. And riches got by deceit. The kingdom is translated from one people to another. So it's going to get translated from the wicked back into the righteous seed, the Israelites, so-called Blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians. So I hope this video is edifying. The water to Rahak Wadash for another video. Till next video, I say, Shalom.